All right, we are finally getting into some very important evidence in this case. What we know so far is that there is a video showing the defendant leaving a recording studio shortly before the murders and sitting in the rear driver's side seat, the rear driver's side passenger seat of this Jeep, and driving off. An hour and a few minutes later, they show up at the hospital. Everybody, that is, except for the defendant, who is no longer anywhere on the premises. Who is inside the Jeep is the driver, Bortland, and two dead bodies. The Jeep appears to have been the victim of a drive-by shooting because, as you can see here in the picture, there are bullet holes from the outside of the vehicle going in. Well, we've had several people testify, including the man who's on the stand right now, testify that these bullets were fired by a stationary person, because they don't show they don't have the markings of a bullet in motion, a bullet striking something that's in motion, I should say. So these shots were fired by a stationary person into a stationary vehicle. But the kill shots came from the left side of the two people that were killed. One went through his shoulder and up into the brain, well, through the back of the neck and up into the brain. The other was basically a face shot, if I recall correctly. And they both came from the left side and exited out the right side of the heads. The doctor who testified on the stand before the guy that's going to be on the stand now testifies, she testified that the shots that came from the right side, the shots that came from outside of the vehicle, were post-mortem. They were after death. They know they were after death because they weren't bleeding, because the heart had stopped pumping stuff out. So the kill shots came from inside the vehicle. There's stippling on the bodies, on the clothes, on the neck and whatnot. There's other marks indicating that they were shot from a very close range. And this guy is doing trajectory analysis, and he's saying that both of the shots came from just about the rear passenger's seat location, the rear driver's side passenger seat location, where Melly, the defendant, was sitting but is no longer accounted for. He shows up a little bit later, he drops a pin to these guys, says, "Hey, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere or something. Please come and pick me up." So from all of this, we have the prosecutor saying he was in there. They drove away, and for some reason, the prosecution does not have to prove motive. They do not have to prove motive. But they're saying for some reason, they left the recording studio. They went to a very remote location. The cell phone data triangulates it to the end of a cul-de-sac out in the middle of nowhere, where the prosecution says that Melly shot the two passengers in the head and killed them, then got out of the vehicle and shot it up to make it look as if they were the victim of a drive-by shooting. And then he left. After which the driver, Bortland, took them to the hospital and went, "OMG, a drive-by shooting." The defense is saying the defendant was not in the vehicle. He doesn't know anything about this. So we're at a very important Bortland. We're at a very important part of this testimony, where this guy is basically, that was the thing, the defense saying this was a drive-by and our guy wasn't there. Well, this is very, very damning testimony, in that the stippling and the other markings on the body pretty much definitively show that these shots came from within the vehicle. And they came from within the vehicle in the very last place that the defendant was seen sitting, the rear driver's side passenger seat. Not looking good. So, yeah, this is very, very important. As I mentioned yesterday while I was drifting towards sleep, this is the pivotal evidence in the case. The defense is going to have to overcome. I mean, it's all circumstantial evidence, but it is very, very strong circumstantial evidence. The defense now is going to almost have to come up with some sort of theory whereby they say, yes, the video shows him getting in the vehicle, but at some point, for some reason, he got out of the vehicle and went somewhere else, at which time they picked up someone else who got into the vehicle and shot these two people and then exited the vehicle to never be seen or heard from again. And then the defendant sent them a pin drop from somewhere saying, hey, I'm out here, come and pick me up. That's almost what the defense has to do at this point to discredit this. I see, again, I don't know. I have no idea what the future is going to bring for this case, but one thing I do see is the driver, Bortland, testifying against Melly as part of a plea deal, as part of some other arrangement to go, yep, this is what happened. Or, which, I mean, well, it's not an or, it's an and/or. I'm thinking Melly's crazy if he takes the stand, because he just opens up way too many doors by the virtue that he's just on the stand. And on the other hand, he has got to rat out Bortland, the driver. He's got to say somehow the driver did it.
Yeah, I wonder how he's going to perform under those circumstances.
So this is going to be interesting. I don't think he should take the stand, but I think he has to, if that makes any sense.
It does make sense. I mean, it's challenging, really, because this whole time that I have been watching the trial with you, we have been saying the state isn't really putting on a very good case. There isn't very strong evidence. They had this guy testify about glass for an hour. It's been boring. But now all of a sudden, they actually have something really damning that's going to be really hard to disprove. And I think the defense has been excellent so far. I think they have done an excellent job of defending their client. But you can't argue with the evidence that is before us, and that is solid, hard evidence. That is
it is. It really, really is. Well, and this is just going back here a little bit.
I am looking forward to the defense and what they do, because I think they're really good at what they're doing, but I don't know what they can do to save their client at this point.
Yeah. I mean, they are fantastic lawyers, but your case is only as good as what you got to work with. Yeah. Now, this is a reconstruction. This is a demonstrative that he is saying this shows the angle of the guy catching it in the front passenger seat. You can see the firearm, the trajectory rod going through the dummy that is going to simulate where the entry and exit wounds were. So this is where he's saying it's from. Inside the vehicle, about that distance, by a phantom who the last person to occupy that seat was the defendant. I mean, this is a powerful picture. It's not actual evidence. It's a recreation. It's a demonstrative. But I think this is going to sit in the jury's head for a long, long time.